Welcome to The Explainer. I'm genuinely so thrilled you're joining me today because we're going to dive right into the messy and honestly totally fascinating reality of AI adoption. We're basing this on some seriously deep academic research. Look, right now there is this massive, glaring gap between the theoretical promise of artificial intelligence and what actual people are experiencing on the ground every single day. It's a phenomenon we call the AI efficiency paradox. So let's jump right in with a question that hits, well, right at the core of this paradox. If this technology is so capable, if it's supposed to be saving us all this time, why on earth are our to-do lists actually getting longer? I'm sure it's a frustration you've probably felt yourself. You adopt a shiny new tool, you're expecting a breather, and instead, you just feel like you're running faster just to stay in the exact same place. Just think about the last time you fired up a generative AI tool to help write an email. Have you ever caught yourself spending, 20 minutes tweaking the prompt, adjusting the tone, fixing the output, for an email that literally would have taken you 5 minutes to just write manually? Yeah, that right there, that's the paradox in action. To figure out why this keeps happening, we're looking at a fascinating 18-month Stanford study that was actually conducted at Google. And the researchers found something pretty eye-opening. They found that people were swapping existing tasks for AI outputs, only to find the learning tax was often greater than the payoff. Basically, they treated AI like a simple calculator. Plug in a prompt, get a result. But the friction of managing that simple substitution, well, that's our real starting point today. Because that learning tax, it isn't just about figuring out a new software interface. It's the hidden, grinding cost of debugging weird outputs, verifying hallucinated facts, and just managing the constant workflow interruptions that happen when you inject a new, imperfect system into a process that honestly worked perfectly fine before. So here's our roadmap for today. 1. The simple substitution trap. 2. The reality of work intensification. 3. Human and technical synergy. 4. Balancing AI capital. And finally, number 5, leading deep AI adoption. Let's get into it. Starting with section 1, the simple substitution trap. You see, when you just substitute a task one-to-one with AI, you aren't really redesigning your work at all. Actually, it's worse than that. You risk something that researchers from the Wharton School call cognitive surrender. This happens when you offload a task to AI and then just uncritically accept whatever it spits out, completely bypassing your own deliberative reasoning. You're basically transferring your agency straight to the machine. And over time, this kind of uncritical substitution risks seriously eroding your own specialized human skills. It's exactly like GPS reliance, right? Think about it. Before turn-by-turn navigation on our phones, we naturally built mental maps of our neighborhoods. We knew which way was north, we easily knew alternative routes. But now, by just blindly following that little blue line on a screen, so many of us have completely lost our internal sense of direction. Well, the exact same cognitive erosion happens at work when we just surrender the hard, deliberative thinking to an algorithm. If you aren't doing the deep analytical work yourself, you're eventually going to lose the muscle memory for it. Moving right along to section 2, reality of work intensification. So those Stanford researchers we mentioned earlier, they actually identified 3 specific ways AI intensifies our daily workload, rather than, actually reducing it. First up is task expansion. Because AI makes complex tasks feel way more accessible, you end up absorbing work that used to require a totally different person. Like a data analyst might suddenly find themselves generating marketing graphics just because an AI image generator is sitting right there on their desktop, which expands their role way beyond their actual expertise. Second, we have blurred boundaries. Since conversational AI feels a lot less like traditional work and a bit more like just chatting with a coworker, people start slipping prompts into their off hours. You might find yourself chilling on the couch at 9 p.m. just running a quick query on your phone. It completely blurs the line between work and rest. And third is increased multitasking. Workers end up running multiple AI threads at once, just constantly context switching. It's like having ChatGPT running in the background while you're actively trying to speak on a Zoom call. And managing those parallel AI threads, it's a total juggling act. You aren't just doing one thing anymore, you're essentially managing parallel systems. When you slip those little prompts into your coffee break, you're creating a workday with fewer actual pauses and a massively higher cognitive load. And the tricky part is, it creates this super potent illusion of productivity. It feels like momentum because the machine is constantly generating text or data for you to look at. But in reality, it's an invisible, steady drain on your mental energy. You aren't resting, and you aren't really doing deep thinking either. You're just endlessly reacting to a machine. So how do we actually break out of this cycle? Well, we have to contrast that failed approach of merely swapping tasks, what we call the substitution mindset, against a strategy that actually works. And that successful strategy is deeply redesigning entire workflows using a product management mindset. See, deep AI adopters don't just sit around engineering better prompts, they look at their whole workflow the way a product manager looks at a product. A great product manager doesn't just slap a Band-Aid on a symptom, right? They look at the entire user journey. They hunt for systemic bottlenecks. They map out the process from end to end and figure out exactly where the technology can fundamentally alter the workflow for the better. So instead of asking, hey, how can AI write this weekly report faster? A product management mindset takes a step back and asks, wait, why are we even generating this weekly report at all? Can an AI system just automatically surface these insights to the team in real time? Which brings us to Section 3, Human and Technical Synergy. Look, true operational efficiency isn't just about throwing money at the most expensive software. It's really about human-AI investment synergy. And what that means is actively coordinating your investments to foster a truly complementary collaboration. You absolutely need human contextual understanding and experiential judgment to pair perfectly with the AI infrastructure. One literally cannot reach maximum efficiency without the other. Think about it. An AI might be able to process 10,000 customer feedback forms in 3 seconds flat and instantly spot a pattern of frustration. That's great, but it takes a real human being with actual emotional intelligence and deep business context to understand why that frustration actually matters and exactly how it's going to impact brand loyalty. That synergy, that is where the magic happens. And the academic data backs this up with a very clear upward curve. Operational efficiency absolutely skyrockets, but only when we achieve congruence. Meaning, you're carefully matching your human capital investments with your technical AI capital. When those two elements are perfectly aligned, they multiply each other's effectiveness, and that's what drives deep, systemic innovation. It's basically a lock-and-key mechanism. I mean, the best algorithm in the world is virtually useless if your workforce hasn't been trained on how to actually integrate its insights. And flip that around. The smartest workforce in the world is going to get totally outpaced if they don't have the technical infrastructure to scale their amazing ideas. Let's look deeper into this in Section 4. Balancing AI capital. Now, the dataset on these firms reveals a truly fascinating finding. Let's say your investments just have to be imbalanced for some reason. You can't achieve that perfect congruence we just talked about. Which way is better? Well, the data shows that a configuration of high human capital and low tech capital yields significantly higher operational efficiency than the reverse. Over-investing in raw tech while completely neglecting the human side. And the reason for this is pretty straightforward. Value realization depends heavily on the ability of human talent to absorb, interpret, and actually integrate those new tools into real business processes. A brilliant, highly trained employee, they can hack a mediocre tool to do something incredibly useful. But a brilliant, multi-million-dollar software system, that is entirely useless to a poorly trained human who doesn't even understand the core business strategy. Without humans to guide it, tech is really just expensive code. To put that into perspective, the researchers found that human-AI synergy is nearly 3 times more effective for firms that manage complex, highly diverse customer bases. We are talking about a massive amplification here, specifically 293%. If your operating environment is full of heterogeneous, unstructured data, think about handling totally unpredictable customer service escalations versus just doing routine data entry, the synergy between a human's emotional perception and the AI's pure computational strength becomes a massive competitive advantage. Routine data entry? Sure, that might just need a basic algorithm, but when a customer calls in furious because of some highly specific, super nuanced cascade of errors, an AI can instantly pull the account history and technical data, which then frees up the human to focus entirely on empathy, de-escalation, and complex problem solving. And finally, Section 5, Leading Deep AI Adoption. So let's translate all of this data into a practical framework. First things first, you absolutely must start with the work, not the AI. Identify your high-value problems before you even go shopping for tech. Second, you have to build a tinkering culture. Leaders need to actually get in there and use the tools themselves. Top-down mandates almost always fail if there's no hands-on leadership. A true tinkering culture means giving employees safe sandbox environments where they are genuinely encouraged to experiment, to fail, and to figure out novel use cases without the constant fear of breaking some core system. And third, this one is crucial. Safeguard human collaboration to prevent the alone together spiral. AI has this tendency to make work feel very isolated. Just imagine an office where everyone is wearing noise-canceling headphones, silently typing away to their own individual AI bots instead of, actually turning to their neighbor to brainstorm.
You have to intentionally maintain human connections, physical meetings, and collaborative crosstalk, or your organizational culture is just going to quietly fracture.
I want to wrap up this explainer by leaving you with a really provocative question to chew on. Are you building a resilient human AI partnership, or are you just building a faster treadmill? Because as we've seen, true efficiency doesn't come from just working faster. It comes from working differently. It requires intentionally configuring both your human and technical capital to work together in total synergy. Take a hard look at your own daily habits today and at your own organization, and ask yourself which one you're really building. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this research, and as always, keep learning.